But I can't finish this.
All right, that's fine.
I'll tell you why. Because we talk about our diaspora, and we talk about the solution diaspora, our solution network out there to link us. But I think the time has come for the greater diaspora, and not the African diaspora. And because I believe that, and I believe there's a consciousness in the United States right now among African Americans
Yes.
to connect to the African diaspora.
Yes.
And those of us in St. Lucia, in the Caribbean, who are of the same root, the same stock, with very similar history, I think there's a natural nexus between us.
Yes.
And I think there's a lot that African Americans and African Americans know. In fact, so much so that Dr. Leah Patton from IIT the other day was talking, and she said, you know something, it's time we drop the African American, African Caribbean, we just say the African.
Yes.
It's time as a nation, we understand who we are and get back together to support one another, because we have the power.
Yes.
But we don't synergize
Yes.
to maximize the power.
Yes.
It's one of the lessons that Martin Luther King was given. Just before he was assassinated, he started really talking about using the power
Yes.
of the African American to achieve. But can you imagine globally now? Marcus Garvey, our own Jamaica, was one of the first proponents of let us have this United Nations movement. Right? And I think the time it has always been so, but it's come back again.
Yes.
Because you cannot sit at this global table as a people and expect that we will get what is necessary for our people to be together unless you see we have that kind of power and force to sit there as a genuine partner with power that people will say, okay, I will listen to you now. I will understand your problem now. I will understand inner city American problems. I will understand Caribbean problems.
Right.
I will understand African problems. Yeah, I think that this is a good time.
But Stephen, you know, the fascinating thing is that you go to America and it happens. You find people from, you know, whatever African nation that you can think of. And you think of people from Trinidad and Tobago. We talk about, for example, the tribute to our ancestors, which happens in the summer in Brooklyn, New York.
Yes.
You know, you talk about Kwanzaa, for example.
Yes.
There is something about the United States that when people get there, they feel that diasporic spark and connection. And it is something that we need to do to ensure that it is continued in pockets such places like St. Lucia, Barbados, wherever. It's happening, but I think we just need to sort of consolidate that a little more. Because, you know, again, I'm just saying there's something about America.
Yes.
When people get together there, they find a commonness
Yes.
that they don't find even in their own countries.
Well, gentlemen, let's take a pause for one moment and we'll come back and pick up on that thought.
Okay.
All right, we'll be back shortly on Dr. Walls and Friends. Originals for all season. Hats by Blind. Welcome back to Dr. Walls and Friends, and I'm joined by Jerry George and Dr. King. And right before break, we were talking about really pulling the diaspora together and becoming a collective again and a collaborative force within the world. And you know, as you were talking about, now is the time, because I think it's a lot easier now because we have vehicles like the internet. We have different ways to communicate via Skype, via just all types of ways that we can pull these ideas together as you mentioned, best practices. We have that. We know the solutions. You mentioned the 40 internal and external assets of development. We know this information, and now it's time for us to take the information and apply it.
Exactly. And you know, like Jerry was talking, in the U.S., there's something very exciting about the United States. Something very depressing about it too, but something very exciting about it. Real contrasting stuff when you go there. And I mean, he said that, you know, we do come together in pockets and times, but we need to come together every day and the real things of life.
Yeah.
So when Dr. Karl Marx, for instance, and Dr. Lydia Patton came here, bringing scholarships for our young people to go and pursue degrees in engineering and psychology and computer science in the United States, that is the action.
Yes.
Now, and similarly, we have to do the same thing for our American youth. And one of the things that Dr. Gerald Doyle, the vice provost at the time of IIT, said, one of the reasons why he wanted some of our youth in Chicago at IIT was IIT sits right on the northern side of South Chicago.
Okay.
Right? And he felt that some of our youth achieving and aspiring and showing that ambition and that ability could also inspire some of the youth
who are there
in the city.
Yes.
And I think that's good. And that's what we should be doing.
Yes.
You know? Because that's what the give back always is.
Exactly.
Dr. Karl Marx brings scholarships. Our students go up and our students give back by exciting the young American students to African American students to participate as well and show them that, you know, hey, it can be done.
That's right.
There's a great future for all of us. So I think that's why I want it to be, we must get more than the ceremony,
Yeah.
which is great, and
Right.
celebration, but we know and of our past and ancestors, of course, but we must do the
ground.
The
real things,
Right.
in the real power in life today.
Right. It's almost as you were saying it, I'm very visual at times, where it's the ceremony is almost the planting of the seed, then the groundwork is for the other 364 days, and then the next ceremony is when we look at what has come to harvest at that point.
Right.
And it's the planting the seeds again.
Oh, I love
and
that.
we continue to
That's nice.
just keep it forward.
That's lovely. And anything you're celebrating the harvest.
Yes.
That's brilliant. I mean, that also very visual, and I can see that. But using these ceremonies for that.
But already there's a template, and it's called Kwanzaa.
Okay.
Yes.
Kwanzaa has 7 days. It matches 7 days of the week.
Yes.
And if we practice each of the principles, for example, there is one called collective economics.
Yes.
You know, if you practice one of the principles every day and teach others to practice that,
Yes.
then certainly, you know, we can achieve some of the things that we want to.
Yes.
But I come back to the Student Leadership Institute because I believe it is important. But I just want to talk about some of the good things that are happening in St. Lucia in some of what we might call depressed or antisocial areas.
Yes.
And one of our colleagues who was supposed to have been here this afternoon could have spoken more eloquently about the projects where we deal with a lot of young people in after-school programs that would not have reached them if it were not for persons who were concerned about the welfare of young persons. And there are after-school programs which Boom Hinkson, our premier artist.
Yes. I had the pleasure of hearing him the other night.
Indeed, right. He contributes, and one of the things that he says all the time is that we ask a lot of our children, but they cannot deliver because we're asking them to give something that they don't have.
Yes.
You know, and if they're behaving a certain way, it's only because that is what they see mirrored for them.
Correct.
Now we have to show them a different way, a more positive way of looking at the world, and from that we can expect better from them.
That's right.
And those of us who know, we must teach. You know, and we cannot just stand by the wayside and say, oh, look at these people, you know, these are, you know, they're behaving a certain way and they're not in mainstream. And, you know, I remember a professor of mine, Rex Nettleford from Jamaica, and he's written a lot about, you know, Caribbean and African identity. And one of the things he said was that we do not have to teach children to become the mainstream. They have to be the mainstream, which is something different.
Yes.
You know, rather than be compliant and conformist,
Yes.
as we were talking about earlier, now we need to sort of set up that resistance to conforming and find, you know, sufficient room for that fruit to bear,
Yes.
so that they can do something that is different to what we know.
I agree. I agree.
It's fascinating. I was listening to Jerry now. You silked me up another way, Jerry. Because I was preparing for budget. I sit in the Senate. I'm an independent senator, so it's our budget time now. So I'm preparing for budget. And one of the backbone of what I want to speak about is actually human development. Because when I look at what happens in our country, and you can see how we create an environment that underdevelops ourselves.
Yes.
And as an example, you know, the first 1,000 days of life from your conception to your second birthday is probably one of the most critical times in the development. The foundation is going to give you your social, your cognitive, and your emotional development, healthy development in the future.
Yes.
And when I look at the reproductive health of our women and what power do we give our women to take control over their reproductive health,
Yes. Yes.
and we need to address.
Yes.
And so I want to deal with that and the
Okay.
policies that need to make that happen. When we look at our pregnant woman and we say, how do we nurture her in the society? How do we make her supported, healthy, happy, content,
Yes.
so she's pleased
Yes.
and supported? You said we need a village? Yes, we need an entire society,
Yes.
which filters back down to community and a home that does that.
Yes.
And then, you know, when we look at that little kid, like Jerry was talking about boobies and that little baby, what's that baby seeing every day in front of them? What's happening in the society? What's happening in their community
Yes.
that is giving that baby, oh, here's what I have to aspire to be.
That's right.
You know? So, and I'm thinking, as you were talking about us being conformist people, that is very true. But if you go to our school system, you'd love to pass through. If you have a chance, let's go to our
Okay.
primary school and our secondary schools.
All right.
What you see, we have classrooms that actually tell the kids, sit behind the desk, speak this way, dress this way,
Yes.
do this, don't question,
Yes.
conform.
Yes.
We are teaching them to conform. And then now we suddenly say, oh, by the way, now be an independent thinker.
Right.
Having
Right.
taught you to be a
Right.
conformist, now
By the way.
by the way.
Yes.
No, you know, so I mean, that education reform is so critical.
Yes.
So like that investment in early childhood development and antenatal development and that investment in education reform is critical for our
I agree. I agree. And you know, I'm thinking about you with the media. Where is the media's role in assisting with this type of reform?
Well, you know, we are copycats, most probably about most of the negative stuff that comes from North America, which is unfortunate. We have not been able to develop an ecology of media in St. Lucia that is typically St. Lucian.
Okay.
And very few of us are doing that because a lot of people do not understand the true potential and power of the media. And so sometimes you're just like a solo voice,
Yes.
you know, and people see you as a pariah.